Over the years, one of the questions we get asked very frequently is, what's in the quote kit? Oftentimes, in fact most of the time, the vehicles that we go to work on are not our own and they're not near where we live. An hour, 2 hours, even 5 hours away. So it's important for us to bring everything that we think we need in order to get the vehicle running and sometimes driving, so that we don't get stuck in the middle of nowhere needing something. So today I'm going to go through what that kit contains. But before I do that, I'd like to show you the evolution. And we have a quick clip here from about 2-3 years ago of what the kit used to look like. So I've got my kit here. I've done this enough times, I've got it down in science. So from those humble beginnings, we have this. Let's take a look at what this is. First and foremost, of course, we need tools. And this is the basic toolbox. This has most of the generic tools that we'll need. Screwdrivers, a knife, battery cleaner, flashlight, Allen wrenches, battery terminal brush. This is important. Wire strippers and cutters. Oftentimes, especially lately, we're doing wiring. We have a box dedicated to wrenches. This is all the wrenches that I usually use. And included in here are also tubing wrenches, in case we have to do a brake line or something like that. We have a couple of socket sets, but these boxes are not for sockets. What these two boxes are for the ratchets and the extensions. That's what they're for. Okay, so I need a place where quickly I can find the extensions and the ratchets, which is this, and we use these to hold the actual sockets. I have 1/2 inch drive, 3/8 drive, and 1/4 inch drive. And you'll notice occasionally something might be missing. This kit is constantly changing. I lose stuff, I drop stuff, I may even break something, and so it has to be replaced. But right now, this set is pretty much complete in that we've got every size that we need. I've also got the most important thing for seized engines, the plumber's wrench. This is by far the best tool to get an engine unstuck, if in fact you can get it on the crankshaft pulley. Hammers, small and large. Timing wrench. This is neat for spark plugs. It actually moves. So this ratchet really is dedicated just to spark plugs. And I have multiple size sockets. In case brakes are stuck. If a caliper is stuck, this is the tool we use to free it up. Some people think this is a torque wrench and they get after me for using it for regular things. It's not a torque wrench. It's an adjustable wrench, so I can get more power out of it. One of our viewers, Gus, gave me this, and it's been invaluable. And of course, we need some channel locks. Another viewer, Richard, gave us this. This thing is super cool. It's got a little button here to adjust, and it's been super useful. The thing we do usually is use this stuff. We carry 2-3 cans of it. It's absolutely key, and that is kept in here. And this is what I call the supplies box. What's in the supplies box? Gloves, both rubber and regular. Another flashlight. Vacuum caps, used all the time. A funnel. Safety glasses. Cree-oil, of course. Brake parts cleaner. Fire extinguisher, brake clean, oil can, Berryman's, hand cleaner, tie wraps, gas line in multiple sizes, 3/8, 5/16. I don't think there's any 1/4 in here, but there might be somewhere. Towels. Transmission fluid funnel, tire gauge, Voltmeter. Why is the voltmeter in the supplies box? Because I use it so often, I might as well put it in there. More gloves. Here's some more of your bug spray. Brake fluid. Yeah, there's your vacuum hose right there. And this says alcohol, but it's not. What is it? Acetone. Finally, getting down to the bottom, we have anti-seize. Super important when you're working on flatheads in particular. A saw for trees. Again, used very, very often. And this is neat, and also something that gets used a few times a year, a gasket kit, the Felpro 3060 gasket kit. And as you can see, I need to reorder this. Also in here is a more compact Marble Mystery Oil. We usually carry a larger one, but it's not in this box. So this makes up the supplies box. Now this box is more universal, more specialized stuff. Most importantly, it's got the MAP gas torch. It also has some duct tape, a brass hammer, super important, a crowbar, some battery cables, and a nice compact hammer. This is great for starters. Christina loves this tool. An oil filter, wrench, you know, it's just stuff like that. This is used more than you would think it would be. Throttle return springs, oftentimes these are rusted away. So this makes up what I call the torch box. Then we move on to the most interesting box to me of the entire kit. This is the one that without it, we're not going to get anything running. You can go to a house sometimes and people will have rudimentary tools and things like that, but they don't have this. So let's take a look at it. First and foremost, a trigger. Tape for marking the plug wires. We also have a marker in here. Vacuum gauge. Spark checker. Gas filters. Assorted bolts and nuts. Hose clamps, all different sizes, hose clamps. This is where we get into the really important stuff. Carburetor fuel connections. Oftentimes the connections are missing on these old rigs, and I've got a bunch in here to fit all different size of carburetors. We have battery cable connections. Whole bunch of different kinds. We use these all the time. I mean, every Willet run we do, we use some of these. Electrical connectors, assorted. Red tape. That's in case we have two blocks and I don't want to screw up and connect them up backwards. That's what that's for. Some points, some spare plugs. Occasionally I'll break a plug pulling it out, so there's some spares in there. Feeler gauge, important. Right here is a new addition to the kit, points file, super important. And ballast resistors. If you remember the Dodge truck we did, the extended cab Dodge truck, the ballast resistor blew out. We have ballast resistors. And of course, test lights. So this kit is super important in the final steps. To jump the ignition, to check for spark. Here's a spare coil. We often use this if it won't start and we want to eliminate a coil, because I've had some coils test good and they were bad. We throw this guy in. And let us not forget the TDC whistle. Very, very useful. So this is my favorite box in the whole kit for obvious reasons. Let's move on. Battery. Group 24 usually is what we find works best, 12 volts. Portable power supply, this EcoFlow. We use this to run sometimes fans, maybe a heater if it's wintertime, air compressors, etc. It's pretty neat. We also can charge phones and all kinds of stuff. Gas, of course, and an air tank. Pretty obvious stuff. We have refreshments. We've got to bring this stuff all the time. We have an impact wrench with sockets. Jump box. This is my favorite jump box. We've got a number of them. This is my favorite, this old JF Egg Roll. This is a couple of years old now, but I just love it. It doesn't require a battery, so you can throw it into a vehicle and right off the bat test the starter with it without having a battery present. We've got this. This, if I could open it, this is our what do you call that thing? Scope. Okay. Oil filters, carb rebuild kits, spark plug wires. These all go into this, which is kind of like my miscellaneous box. Everything that won't fit somewhere else. So you see we've got a timing light, we've got some ignition modules, the compression tester, carb base gaskets. I mean, I've got Ford and GM ignition modules, more spark plugs, plug wires, a battery holder, all kinds of stuff is in here. And a machete right here, a crowbar right there, and some radiator hose, which oftentimes we use as a shielding on a bad battery cable rather than actually for heater hose. Probably the most recent addition to our kit. This is actually a tire inflator. Tiny little thing, but I've grown to really like it. This will easily fill 2 tires, easily. Maybe 3 or 4, but I've never tried it. And it's tiny, just rechargeable thing, and it works good. That helps me from having to break this air compressor out. Sometimes I can get away with just that. I bet you don't know what these are. These are actually mud flaps from a tractor trailer. And we use those to put under a jack. When we're trying to lift a vehicle in the mud or in soft ground, these things work really well. I wouldn't want to get under a car that have these under the jack, but they are good to provide a solid point. Jack stands, of course, many of them. This is a really important piece. This is something Christina got me, and it is a yoga mat. Obviously, what do I use this for? Laying under the car, in the middle of nowhere, in the dirt with bugs and everything. This thing is fantastic. You just roll it out, and it's soft, and it's tough. I've been using this probably 2 years now. There's no cuts in it. There's no holes in it. It's been covered with gas and oil and coolant. I don't know what this stuff is made of, but get one. It is amazing. Of course, we have the portable fuel supply. This replaced the funnel fuel line, although I still have the parts to make the fuel line if for some reason I forget this or it is out of service. We have carburetors. There's a 1 barrel, there's a 4 barrel in here. We don't always bring carbs, but if I have a carb that fits a vehicle we're going to be working on, I throw it in. Of course, coolant, oil, transmission fluid, you name it, gallons and gallons of this stuff we bring. It takes a lot of space, but we have to have it. We have this porta potty with this come along. Very heavy duty come along. We have actually not had a need for it, but if we do, it's here. Lots of rope, high strength rope. We have some chain in here, very large chain, and some wooden blocks, chalk blocks and other type of blocks that we might need to jack up a car or something else. We also have the tools I call the big guns. Here are what I call the big guns. Huge chain wrench, not often used, but if I need it, it comes in handy for trying to get vehicles unseized. Various G bars, as they're called, or additional leverage bars. 3/4 inch drive. Look at the size of that socket. I mean, why do you need a breaker bar when you get something like that? It's 3/4 inch drive. This chain wrench is more useful. It's smaller, but it's proven to be quite tough. I broke one of these in a video once, but not this type, which led me to buy this one. Pry bars. Very useful for cranking on flywheels and flex plates, trying to get vehicles unstuck. Oftentimes, when nothing else works, these do. Huge plumber's wrench. If the pulley's really, really large on a vehicle, I can get this on it, and look at the leverage it gives me all by itself. And then a 3/4 inch breaker bar. Between all this stuff, if we can't get the engine unstuck, it's probably not coming unstuck without removing the heads. An optional component of the kit is a chainsaw. We bring this depending on what the conditions are going to be that we think we're going to encounter when we arrive. Chainsaw doesn't have to be huge. We're not cutting down 100-year-old trees. But just for scrub brush and small trees, this guy or one like it will do the trick. Another thing we bring with us is an assortment of belts. And that varies according to the vehicle we might be working on. But I just take a bunch from this, and I have another pile in the corner so that if we're not going to be stopped cold by a belt. That's happened once, and it was really terrible to put all the work into the vehicle. The belt snaps, and we're stuck. Although not in the kit at the moment, of course, we need a floor jack. And I always go with an aluminum job because sometimes I have to carry these for 100 yards to get to a vehicle. And this thing has really fit the bill. In 3 years, this is my second one, and they get abused. They're in mud and dirt and everything, and they keep on going. There are some things I'd like to add to the kit. It takes up the whole bed of a 6-foot truck as it is now, so I can't. One of them is a vise. I'd like to have a truck with the vise was mounted right on the tailgate or something. This truck is too nice for that, but eventually I'll get there. Maybe even the grandpa truck that I've got will get that. I'd like to have a winch. I have one, but just at this point, I haven't created a hitch mount for it yet to fit in the hitch of this truck, but I will. What else would I like to have here? Maybe you viewers can think of things that I should add to this kit. And if you can, definitely put it in the comments. I am eventually moving to an 8-foot bed truck, so I'm going to have more room for this. I hope you've enjoyed this today. Quick little video to answer some questions that we regularly get. And maybe this helps you decide what you keep in your kit when you go to rescue vehicles. Thank you. Please consider subscribing. Like the video if you liked it. Have a great day.